maybe they can believe that they can pull off the upset. Again, we talked about how good a team they are in their own right, but Stanford has just been dominant the last couple of months.
And with that, again, this is a Pepperdine team, and we talked about how deep and talented the WCC is. It's a Pepperdine team. They played in a couple of tough non-conference environments as well. Where you go against the #1 team coming into the year, and Nebraska, Baylor came to Pepperdine. That's actually one that Pepperdine won 3-1.
Yeah, that was a huge win for them, beating Baylor back in early September.
And they also have some success against the Pac-12. They went up against them, number 13 Washington, who many thought would be the winners in the Pac-12 this year, and they went up to Seattle, beat them 3-1.
Yeah, you're right about that. They played Minnesota and beat them in Minneapolis in 4 sets when they were ranked number 6. So they are battle tested, although it's Stanford who's off to the quick start here.
6-1 already in favor of the Cardinal. Big swing and off the antenna on the block attempt, another point for the Cardinal. And in a blink of an eye, Stanford already with a 6-0 run, and that's going to call for a timeout by Scott Wong.
I think a smart timeout here. I was about to suggest we might see that early on. Maybe some nerves for Pepperdine on the road in the tournament. Just want to settle things down, get back to playing your game. You're going against, obviously, a great team, and we talked about what Stanford, the challenges they present, especially with some of their blockers at the net. But you have to remember, if you're Pepperdine, you're a good team too. Play your game. Do what got you here. You have plenty of talent as well.
And of course, we talk about talent again, as we mentioned. 6 all-WCC members for the Waves, and the freshman of the year, who actually, that's the 3rd time in a row, the 3rd season in a row now that Pepperdine has had the WCC freshman of the year. Meg Brown and Grace Chillingworth also did it as well. And with that, you had Riley Patterson and Isabel Zalea, who had 2nd team and honorable mention recognitions for all WCC. And then Helmuth, along with Vanessa Polk, had spots on the all-freshman team.
It just speaks to the type of program that Coach Scott Wong has built here. Now in his 8th season. And that's tough to do. You're a straight freshman of the year. And we talk about WCC. That's a really good conference. You're getting some top talent. San Diego's a team that was right at the top of the national.
Some top talent. San Diego's a team that was right at the top of the national rankings all season long. So it is saying something, but I guess at the same time it makes sense. Who wouldn't want to go play volleyball at Pepperdine right on the beach?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a tough offer to say no to, if you have to ask me.
Once again, Stanford just
serving from Baird. Once again, Stanford just absolutely stuffing anything up front. Here they come on the attack. Elliot Rubin, a miss hit, hits it too far. Much needed point for Pepperdine.
I think early on, every point that the Waves win will help settle them in.
And now we're going to have a challenge called by Kevin Hambley. He thinks that might have been tipped up at the net.
So an early challenge in this match. We saw a couple in the last one. I think, as it has been in every sport, I like the addition of the video review. If you can get it right. And, in volleyball it's tough because sometimes, even on the replay, as we've talked about, it's really hard to see. But at least give yourself the opportunity, go to the monitor, give the coaches some challenges, and do your best to get it right.
But also, how about the message that, in my opinion, this sends if you're Kevin Hambley and the Stanford team? I mean, you're already up 7-2. It could be 8-1. We'll see.
Right.
And here you are. You're trying to get every single point you can right away.
I think that's the right mentality. I mean, you can't take anything for granted, especially in the postseason where it's win or go home. You want to build a big lead, and good look there at Scott Wong, as we mentioned, in his 8th season for Pepperdine. 144 wins, 86 losses. Kevin Hambley, who you were talking about all of the years for Stanford, the Pac-12 Coach of the Year right there. And a successful challenge.
Oh, there you go. Stanford 1 for 1. So take off the point for Pepperdine and give it to the Cardinal. Instead of 7-2, it's now 8-1.
And I know it doesn't seem like a huge thing, but look, that is, to me, a big deal. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
8-1 feels pretty commanding even early in this set. If you're Stanford, you just want to roll to a first set victory now.
Well, even on the other side of it, too, if you think that you might have had a chance to stop this momentum that Stanford had for Pepperdine, all of a sudden that point's taken off, and then again, that wall up front stuffs it right back home. Another point for the Cardinal with Vicini and Kendall Kipp who were there. Two blocks already now for Stanford. Pepperdine trying to go over on the second of the dump. Bit of a miss hit in the middle from Meg Brown. Big wind-up Rubin, but she was met up front. So Pepperdine giving Stanford a taste of their own medicine.
Yeah, Meg Brown, good positioning at the net, and the junior from Santa Ana. She was one of those 3 consecutive freshmen of the year on this team. She was first team All West Coast Conference, and that's a good sign for Pepperdine defensively.
Defensively for sure, because offensively one thing is for sure is Meg Brown has brought that this year. She has led Pepperdine in kills, or at least tied for the lead in kills on 9 different occasions and 29 matches played. That's the thing. There's a lot of versatility. We talk about it on Stanford's end. There's a lot of versatility for Pepperdine as well. Even if you go back to the beginning of the year, in the 5 of their first 6 matches, they had a different kill leader.
That's a great stat. It just speaks to the depth. And when you have that type of depth and that many weapons, it can be hard to defend as Pepperdine gets another point back.
10-3 now in set number 1. Back to serve. It's going to be Meg Brown from Santa Ana, the powerhouse down there, modern day. If you think of almost any sport you can think of, you probably know somebody that's a big-time athlete from modern day. Yeah,
they churn out incredible athletes down there. Well, back-to-back points here for Pepperdine. Let's see if they can get their footing a little bit.
And about that at the net. Since Stanford scrambling a bit, Rubin gets it over. Now Stanford with a chance to set it up, but they had the over hit on that first hit. And now Pepperdine going on a little roll.
Yeah, 3 in a row for the Waves, and the first time we've seen Stanford do anything wrong so far in this first set. A little off with the hit. Pepperdine, even if they don't come all the way back and win this set, they can gain confidence from this run.
Block attempt went out of bounds. Point for Stanford and Kendall Kipp. So for her already, that's going to be kill number 4 in 6 total swings. So she's hit 667 in this set.
Add in 2 blocks and 2 dicks for Kendall. Pac-12 Player of the Year. What a season she had.
Waves, there's that Stanford front again. Annabelle Smith was right there up front. I mean, you talk about, again, the depth of the Stanford team. Sammy Francis has been out for a while now. She was having a phenomenal season in the middle, and they have not missed a beat defensively.
I mean, you talk about depth, and Stanford definitely has it all over the floor.
Of course, sometimes you don't need depth. Sometimes you just give it to Kendall Kipp, and she'll take it on home for you.
Remember in the first match of the night when we were talking about power, and it kind of felt like an earthquake? That might have been the hardest hit ball we've seen all night. And Kendall Kipp putting on a show here in the first set.
And speaking of Pac-12 Player of the Year, someone else in the building that I saw earlier who knows a little bit about hitting the ball pretty hard in this building as well. I saw Catherine Plummer actually over there in the first row. Former Stanford great, one of, if not the best to do it in college volleyball, especially her time here. Again, if Kendall Kipp winning 1 Pac-12 Player of the Year, Catherine Plummer won it back-to-back in 2017 and 2018.
Well, this Cardinal program, I mean, 9-time national champions, obviously winning back-to-back 18 and 19, and 2016, 3 and 4 years. They're trying to get back to that level. Last year, 19 and 11, making it the second round, but we got bigger aspirations this year. This is a national championship contender, as you would expect from a 1 seed.
And there's a point for Pepperdine. Vanessa Polk was there, the freshman from St. Louis. But that's one thing Kevin Hambley talked about too. He said, look, let's be honest about it. He's not afraid to be bashful and say, when you are here at Stanford in this program, that's what it's all about. It's not about just trying to win the Pac-12 or about the individual accolades that you can get. It's about winning national championships.
Well, Stanford has more than any other school across the board, and you're right. The Cardinal, it's all about the championships. And Stanford now up 15-7, and yeah, this Cardinal team had a couple of, I don't want to call it last year a down year, but you know, the shortened year with COVID in 2020 snapped a streak of 39 straight tournaments for them. You want to make sure that that was the exception to the rule, and it bounced back in a big way.
Point goes for Katie Baird. Another kill for Stanford, so now Baird in the action, her second kill of this first set. 16-7 now in favor of Stanford.
Katie Baird, another first-team all-conference player on this Stanford roster.
The serve goes a little too far, a point now for the weights. But we talked about in the open, it wasn't 17, it's 18 match win streak right now for Stanford. And I thought there was 1 point in that win streak. It actually happened right here in Maples. They went up against USC, and at that point, both teams had a pretty good win streak. As on the dump, second hit, Cammie Minor puts one home. But they go against USC. It was about midway into the Pac-12 season, and Stanford absolutely dominated that match against USC. And that was, I think, around the 6 or 7 match win streak mark for Stanford. But you just had a feeling that after that, the way they performed and played in that one, that you were seeing something special. And, of course, here we are.
Yeah, they're playing as well as anyone in the country right now. And obviously, to go 19-1 in a conference as strong as the Pac-12, you got 6 teams into the tournament from the Pac. 20th Pac-12 title for the Cardinal. It's been a heck of a run.
Back-to-back service errors. All goes right back to the possession of Stanford. That'll be Katie Baird. Again, back to serve. 2 kills for her so far on 4 attacks. Stanford so far hitting .391 in set number 1. Livy was there for that. Minor quick setup and put it perfectly for Bacchini, who buries it home.
You can see why Cammie Minor was the setter of the year in the Pac-12. Just great anticipation, great communication, and the chemistry, and almost no way to defend it when it happens that quickly.
Timeout once again called by Pepperdine, their second of this set. We'll take one with them. Stanford in front right now, 19-9. Set number 1 about to continue. Saw a big run for Stanford earlier in the set. Pulled off 8 consecutive points. Helped them to build this 19-9 lead where we stand right now. Right now Stanford hitting 478. Pepperdine, on the other hand, 071, and that's going to go down a little bit more after that goes too far. Another point for the Cardinal.
Well, Pepperdine, not necessarily a dominant offensive team throughout the year. Very good defensively. They led the West Coast Conference in digs per set this year, but for the season hit around 229. Stanford, on the other hand, 292 hitting percentage, which is excellent.
That might be trouble. A little joust, and Kendall Kipp got a little excited. Trying to put one down quickly and left it a little short. Grace Chillingworth, sophomore, and she was the WCC Freshman of the Year last season. Big swing from Elia Rubin. She'll do another one. If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Elia Rubin, another one of those talented freshmen that Stanford tends to bring in. 5-time Freshman of the Week this year in the Pac-12.
I thought for a while maybe there was a good chance of her winning the Freshman of the Year in the Pac-12 because of that.
Absolutely. Well, first team all-conference as a freshman is a pretty nice accomplishment, too.
Absolutely. Another big block up front. Kendall Kipp was there. Well, I think the thing about it, and again, this kind of goes back to the mentality that the Stanford program has that we were talking about earlier. You know what a first team all Pac-12 honor as a freshman, you know what that gets you in practice or in the meeting? You might get a high five. You might get a pat on the back. It doesn't really matter.
That's it. Well, as you said, there's bigger aspirations at Stanford. There's a lot of individual awards, and those are great, but the expectations are high. This is a team that wants to win a national championship. It's all about the team.
And on the other side of things, of course, this is a Pepperdine team. 26th time now they've made the NCAA tournament. 11 WCC championships. There's another service error for Pepperdine. That is service error number 4 for them. In this set, of course, when you go against a team like Stanford, you don't want to hurt yourself and beat yourself. Stanford 2 points away now from taking set number 1. Pepperdine on the attack. It's again. Stanford defense was there. And a hit into the net. Also might have gone off the antenna had it been any higher anyway for Emily Helmuth. And Stanford in set points, so the majority of Maples Pavilion will rise to their feet. A good turnout in Maples tonight. Another good serve from Stanford and Kendall Kipp. Now here come the Cardinal offensively. Minor to Rubin. Point and set for the Cardinal. Well, Ben, if the Cardinal wanted to come out and make an impression and make a statement, I think it's safe to say they did so.
I think that was it. You're 100% right. And now if you're Pepperdine, you have to let that one go and try to find some answers, especially for your big-time hitters, to find a way to get it through the Stanford blocking at the net.
Had to find a way to get it through the block. And also on the other side of things, you have to find a way to stop Stanford and block them if you're on defense. We'll talk more about it and some of the numbers to go with it when we come back from this break. Stanford up 1-0 here on ESPN+. Pepperdine Waves coming out of the break between sets, looking for some answers. They dropped set number 1, 25-11 to the Stanford Cardinals, the number 5 overall seed in the NCAA Women's Tournament. Stanford in that first set hit 481. If you're wondering what their team high is in a match this year, they hit 605 in that USC match that we were talking about earlier. So still some room for improvement for Stanford.
Well, you see how well they played in that first set. And it's 481, and then you hear 600 for a full match, and that's just ridiculous.
Of course, on the other side of things, Pepperdine had 0-28. We saw the problems that they had up at the net with the length, the size, athleticism of Stanford. We'll see if they have any counters to go up against that here in set number 2.
I think one thing to monitor, and you talked about it a little bit, Jordan, Pepperdine making some errors both on the serve, maybe trying to be a little extra aggressive, knowing the quality of opponent, and that can be a trap that, you know, it's important that you do serve well and aggressively, but at the same time, you don't want to give Stanford any help.
Because they can do things like that on their own.
Maybe that's why you need to take some chances.
Katie Baird, her 3rd kill of the match. Stanford gets the first point of set number 2. Serve from Cammie Minor. Once again, Stanford right there, but a good job. The second time, Vanessa Polk puts it right back over and down.
So the freshman getting in and finding a little space. This is a really important time in the match for Pepperdine. We talked about it in the first set with Stanford getting out to the quick start. If you're the Waves, you got to try and stay in this set as long as you can. You don't want to let Stanford get rolling again.
Polk averaged just under a kill and a half per set during the season. Good swing cross-court winner, once again coming from Katie Baird. And you make a good point, Ben. If you're Pepperdine, you have to find a way to get an early set run here. And again, Stanford is just on cruise control, and I don't say that in terms of this match. I mean, again, the last 18 matches that they've been a part of. Now looking potentially for an ace. Great hustle to keep that alive.
What a job.
Good job by Riley Patterson, but here comes Stanford. They'll get the point anyway.
That's what makes it so tough, is you can stay in a point, but especially when you get a little out of position, Stanford has the weapons to end points quickly.
Think about what we were just talking about a match ago. It seemed like when LSU had those extra effort plays, those hustle plays, they found a way to get the point. The dig, it just went a little too far as Elena Oglivie laid out to try to keep it alive.
That would have been an example of one of those points where if you're Pepperdine, you have to wonder what else can you do, but they do get that point and back within 1.
Patterson again on the serve. Stanford goes outside again, Kendall Kipp.
Well, you can't teach 6'5", and Kendall Kipp uses that size and that height extremely well. Another great swing there for the Pac-12 Player of the Year.
6'5", good jumping ability, long arms, and a hard swing. Good dig, Minor keeps it alive. The back over, and that's going to go out of bounds, over a hit. It looked like Pepperdine was hoping for a tip at the net, but they won't get the call.
And those are the types of points that Pepperdine has to find a way to put that in play. It's not easy because Stanford takes up so much space. You're hitting around blockers. You got to find a little bit of open court. But the margin for error is small when you go against a team like Stanford.
They were able to find some room there on that big swing. Point for Pepperdine. Emma Ammerman will get that one. Defeated the block of Elia Rubin. 3 serving 5 right now. Minor puts it over to Kipp. And we're going to get the whistle and the point for Stanford. Couldn't see fully what the call was. I think maybe Pepperdine went into the net. 6-3 now. Big swing. Stanford again was there up front. Now they have a chance to set up the offense. Minor, and coming out of the back line, a big-time swing from Katie Baird.
That's almost unfair when you can do that from the back row. Normally, you don't get that kind of angle. And what a hit from Baird. Finds the little crease of space.
I think another part of that, too, you talked about the Pac-12 setter of the year, is Stanford puts that into their net. And think about how perfect the set also has to be, which we know Kami Minor is very capable of doing. She put that in a perfect spot for Katie Baird to have the perfect swing on the ball.
Yeah, no question. Kami Minor averaging 11.25 assists per set, which is 8th best in the country. And there's another pass right on the mark, but nice to see Pepperdine play some good defense on that point.
Emily Helmuth was there on the block.
So definitely a much more competitive start to the set. And again, I think if you're Pepperdine, well, you can stay close in the set, the more confident they'll feel.
Off the hands of the block up front, point for Stanford and Elia Rubin. Of course, you do everything you can, because as we saw, it happened early in set number 1. It could happen at any point in the set with Stanford. They have that propensity to go on a big run, and the next thing you know, you look up and you might be down 5, 6, 7 points. A service error for the Cardinal gives another point to Pepperdine. So we've really been, for the most part, in that 2 to 3 point range early on in set number 2. From the back row, just missing. Kendall Kipp again, missed wide, and Pepperdine within 1.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Pepperdine chance to get level here in this set. Much better start for the Waves here in the second.
And once again, a shot goes wide. That one from Katie Baird. 3 points in a row now for Pepperdine. We're tied at 8.
The response that you'd love to see if you're head coach Scott Wong.
And Katie Baird gets another chance at it, puts it down. Now, Ben, there was something that you mentioned before the first set. I thought it was interesting. Usually, obviously, when you get to this point of the year, the coaches are going to be highly complimentary of the other team. Oh, yes, they're really good at this. They're really good at that. They're physical. They serve well. Yeah, we get it. I thought one thing was really interesting, and it was one of those moments where, well, by complimenting Stanford, he also complimented his own team. As, again, Stanford is giving problems to the Waves at the net. But he talked about how it's almost like the committee didn't really give Stanford the credit that they were due by having this be a first-round matchup.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. And again, ooh, it's a little fancy there.
Nice.
But both teams probably maybe feeling a little undervalued. I think maybe the whole West Coast Conference a little undervalued. San Diego not getting a 1 seed, BYU down at a number 7. But again, at the end of the day, if you're in the tournament, you can settle it on the court. And I think that's the mentality that most coaches have.
That was a good point, though. You mentioned BYU as another cross-court winner for Katie Baird. I got a chance to watch some of their match earlier today. They were up against James Madison. Now, BYU, think about this, they had to travel all the way to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
As good as a team as they are, they're all the way across the country.
Yeah.
11-9 now, Stanford. There's Minor on the serve. Oglivie. Baird once again.
Okay, Baird has been busy here in this second set. And the Cardinals trying to go on another big run here to open things up.
8th kill already for Katie Baird. Her match high, and also the high for any player for Stanford this year, is 26. That came back against Oregon State in Naples.
The funny thing about volleyball, and you know, when you're as dominant a team as Stanford has been, sometimes the numbers aren't there in a big way. The per set totals are, but if you're winning a lot of sweeps, if you're winning in 4 sets, you don't always have the big 30 kill type of performance. You just don't have the time to do it.
Big swing and finding room along the line. Grace Chillingworth.
Well, that's a good sign for Pepperdine. Chillingworth, first team all West Coast Conference. Led the team in kills during the regular season with 309. And they've done a much better job here in this second set, finding space around the blockers.
Yeah, but now they're going to give Stanford a chance to set up their offense. We know they can beat blockers, but it just goes wide. We've seen a couple of those now on those cross-court swings for Stanford. At least that's the 3rd time I think I've seen it. And we're even at 12.
And after Pepperdine, you got to appreciate the rare errors that Stanford will commit, because they're not going to happen that often.
And to your point, just like that, a kill for McKenna Vicini. That's going to be her 6th. 7-14, 6 kills and 7 total attacks. Put Stanford back in front. Katie Baird on serve. And hello, there's that block again, Elia Rubin. And you look up and down for Stanford up front too. The age groups, they do it all different levels. You have Elia Rubin, who's a freshman. You have Katie Baird, the redshirt junior. You have Kendall Kipp, who's a senior. I mean, it's up and down, and that's usually the sign of those good programs where, you know, obviously you're going to have the older talent that's there and is established. Then you probably have some of the younger talent that comes in as well. And they can continue to be a standout as once again as Rubin getting the point for the Cardinal.
That's a great job by Rubin. Change of direction as that brings us to the timeout. But again, so tough if you're Pepperdine to find a way past those blockers. We'll talk more on the other side of some solutions perhaps for the Waves.
Well, we talked about how Stanford can go on a run at any given moment. Could be in the middle of one right now. 3 consecutive points that led into that timeout. And they'll continue on the serve. Can Pepperdine have an answer? Good dig by Oglivie. Kendall Kipp puts that straight down.
And that's where that 6'5" height mixed with her leaping abilities can come into play. It's not often you see a hit at that angle, and it's tough to come up with a dig when it's almost straight down that way.
16-12 now for Stanford. Kill number 8 for Kipp. And in the middle of the net, Vanessa Polk took the big swing. Another block for Stanford, and it finds room. Kip was there, and also was Bacini once again.
So these Cardinals blockers with great anticipation. I think if you're Pepperdine, it's not easy, but varying your approach on offense, trying to utilize both sides, multiple hitters, it's your best option to get around these blockers, because if Stanford knows where the ball is going, or if it's not varied enough, you're going to see what you're seeing right now. And another timeout Pepperdine, as that's now 5 straight for the Cardinals.
Well, 5 straight, and now Stanford brings their hit percentage up in this set, now hitting 450, 468 overall in the match. And on the other side of things, Pepperdine, well, they are up from set number 1, but just hitting 100 right now here in set number 2. And the big thing there too, 4 errors apiece on for both teams on the attack. Overall, Pepperdine now with 10 attack errors, Stanford with 6.
Well, again, I think if you're Pepperdine, this is where you can try to draw back on your experience playing some of the other top teams in the nation on your schedule this year. As that was quite a look, the Stanford band having a good time. But yeah, you talk about a win against Baylor, a win against Washington, a win against Minnesota. You know, taking a set a couple matches ago from San Diego, number 2 in the nation. They've faced this type of talent before, but I think to your point earlier, Jordan, the Cardinal right now are on such a roll, and not just tonight, but they're playing with so much confidence. You mix that with the talent they have and the execution. There's a reason they've won 18 in a row.
They're going to be a tough out if anyone is able to put them out. Because, I mean, the way you look at it, it's not even the fact of Stanford being good. Obviously, when you have a good team like the Cardinal, you think they're going to take care of home court advantage. They've done so. 10-2 at home this year. But what's even more impressive is that's an impressive block for Pepperdine, as Emma Ammerman and Meg Brown were there. But for Stanford, I think what's even more impressive, the 10-2 mark at home. They're 14-1 on the road.
They almost petitioned the NCAA to play this match at Pepperdine.
Big swing, Elia Rubin. Of course, that's the only loss that they had on the road this year came against Oregon, who, of course, is a tournament team as well. So, again, you just look at up and down the all-around excellence that Stanford's shown this year, no matter where they've played. Oglivie, Baird tries to keep it alive, and Kip gave a hustle after it over towards the bench, but couldn't come up with a point for Pepperdine.
Yeah, good effort there, and I definitely like what we've seen from Pepperdine better in this second set. Obviously, the score reflects it, but it just feels like they're playing more confident, more their own style, and of course, right as I say that, the service error. But I think there were maybe some early jitters for Pepperdine, and I think that's to be expected for any team in tournament play,
Absolutely,
especially on the road and going against the number 1 seed. They've settled in, and they're starting to play more like themselves.
What a serve from Kendall Kip. That ball just dropped in a hurry.
I mean, you talk about a sinker.
Absolutely.
You see sinkers in baseball. That was one of the nastiest we've seen. That thing got over the net and took a dive.
The ultimate definition of the bottom just dropped out.
Yeah.
Pepperdine in the middle. Oglivie hit it straight up, but nobody else could get there. Point for Pepperdine. Well, to your point, Ben, every point where it seems like Stanford's going to just run away with it, Pepperdine comes up with that point here or there to give themselves at least a little bit of a chance. And then a service error. (21-16) now in favor of the Cardinal. And they'll send Elia Rubin back to serve.
Well, that was interesting. Maybe Pepperdine needs to try a little bit of deception. The pass and the timing was off. I think that caught Stanford off guard, and look at that, from her feet. Maybe that's the answer to getting it through the blockers.
Just like you drew it up. As Katie Baird will get the kill. But one thing that was interesting there, too, you see how Stanford, I think they also know Pepperdine is going to try to change some things up. You saw how loaded up they were for maybe a dump coming, and you go over on that second hit. So we'll see maybe if Pepperdine, they might try to take advantage of that. Maybe try to go over on the second hit a little bit more often, see if you can catch Stanford sleeping a bit.
I think that's certainly a good option. As we said, you have to vary your attacks. If you get predictable against a team like Stanford, it's going to be nearly impossible.
Stanford now 2 points away after the attack error from Grace Chillingworth. Went a little too far, 23-17. And set number 2. Good dig by Rubin. That went over, so Stanford a free set of hits. And that was, yes it was, touched at the net. Kill for the Cardinal, point for Stanford, and they are a point away from taking a commanding 2-0 lead.
So you get one past the blockers, and then you just have Rubin with an incredible dig back there. It's almost unfair.
And Pepperdine keep it alive. No, they can't. It wasn't touched. Oh, yes, it was. They called it. Didn't see the call at first. It was touched at the net, so a kill for Pepperdine. And they'll keep things alive as Emily Helmuth was the one that put it home.
I think most of the crowd thought that was the end of the set as well. But now Pepperdine will try and stay alive a little longer on their serve.
Out of the back line, there's Kendall Kipp. Point for Stanford, and set number 2 belongs to the Cardinal. Well, for most of that set, Ben, we talked about it, Pepperdine, they hung around. They found ways, even if they were down by maybe 3 or 4 points, they found ways to get back into it. And then towards the end of it, Stanford just pulled away.
Absolutely right. I think you got to give credit to the Waves. They came out and battled really well in that set, a much more competitive set. But at the end of the day, the Cardinals found solutions. There's a reason, as we've said, that they've won 18 in a row. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. And both offense and defense, it's all rolling for Stanford tonight.
2 sets down now here at Maples in our nightcap of round 1. When we come back, set number 3 will be underway. Stanford's going to look to sweep it. Pepperdine is going to do everything they can to keep it alive here on ESPN+. On to set number 3 in Maples. Then a performance for sure for Stanford, the number 5 overall seed in the tournament. It took set number 1, 25-11, 25-18 in set number 2. Overall, Stanford hitting .472 and holding Pepperdine to .097. Now, coming into this match, just to give you an idea of how impressive that is, Pepperdine came in hitting .229. And yeah, I mean, the defense for Stanford has been so impressive, and you combine that with how dominant the offense can be too. It's how you get to this 2-0 lead.
Well, this set starting much the way we've seen the last 2 sets go. Great defense. Vicini with the block.
Emma Ammerman on the kill. Good spot along the back line. Just out of the reach of Elia Rubin. We have a 1-1 score.
Be interesting to see how the Cardinal play in this 3rd set. You don't want to take your foot off the gas. Up 2-0. You want to finish this as quickly as you can and not give Pepperdine any life, but at the same time, you know the Waves, they're not going to let their season end quietly.
Absolutely. And part of that also includes getting an ace, which is what just happened for Emily Hellmuth. The lead for Pepperdine, and that goes away as the serve goes wide. We'll be even at 2.
Well, you talk about the service errors, and again, if you're Pepperdine, I don't think you necessarily hate it because you do have to be aggressive serving. With Stanford's offensive attack, you know that if you just loft it in there, they're probably going to win the point anyway. So you got to take some chances, which they've done.
Good dig by Oblivion to keep it alive, but Stanford couldn't play it off the net. A point for Pepperdine, which, I mean, it's one of those darned if you do, darned if you don't if you're Pepperdine, right? You want to be aggressive and find a way to get points, but at the same time, with the aggression, you also don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and give Stanford a free point.
It's a tough balance, no question.
Vicini on the attack for Stanford, and then the hit goes wide for Pepperdine, and we are tied at 3. That error comes from Ammerman. Kendall Kipp once again.
There's not a whole lot you can do with
No.
that type of power. It is just throw your hands up, try your best. But that thing is on Patterson before she's even able to prepare for it.
And you harped on it a couple of times in this match, but if you're Grace Chillingworth, and that angle that Kendall Kipp can come from, there's really not much you can do up front.
And then there's the defense as well.
And now Stanford will load up out of the back line. It's Baird, and right there waiting for it was Zalea, and it results into a point for Pepperdine on the kill as it goes off the block up front.
Well, that was a nice job because Stanford was in position to block once again. It's so tough. They're positioned so well, not just at the net, but you can get it by the blockers. But their defensive specialists are in perfect position as well.
Cami Miner kept it on Stanford's end, tried to set up Vicini, but she hits it wide. So lead for Pepperdine.
Yeah, strong start here for the Waves.
Yeah.
Really, since that first set, they've been pretty competitive. And again, I think we're seeing what this Pepperdine team has really been for most of the year, which is a very good team.
Rubin puts just enough touch on it. Finds the hardwood. Back even now at 5 as the substitution coming back in for Pepperdine is Trinity Stanger. Sophomore from Los Angeles. Here comes Kendall Kipp once again.
You're seeing why she was Pac-12 Player of the Year, as if you needed any reason to back that up. The numbers speak for themselves, but she has just been a force this year. Came in averaging 5.21 points per set, 9th best in the country. She gets it done in a lot of ways.
Kipp again.
And one of those ways is power.
She is absolutely dominating so far tonight. 12 kills now for Kendall Kipp.
Look at that hit percentage, too. 688.
I think that'll work. Miss hit. Pepperdine kept it alive. And a nice swing on the outside.
Ready.
From Meg Brown.
Right into the cross-court corner. Not an easy shot. Around the blockers. And a big point for Pepperdine.
7-6. This is how we saw most of the second set go as well. Kept it tight. Stanford late really pulled away. A miss hit, but it works out.
I'm telling you, that should be their segment. That's twice now we've seen sort of awkward-looking hits, but the change-up effect has worked.
The best part about it, too, you see Meg Brown's reaction. She knows that she didn't hit that the way she wanted it to, but she'll take the point. See, look at the reaction there.
There is nothing better.
Well, Elliot Rubin, I tell you what, I think she hit that one the way she wanted to.
Yeah, that was not a miss hit. That's another way that you register a kill. Boy, the power up and down this roster for Stanford is phenomenal.
Stanford in front now, 8-7. Serve from Kipp goes into the net. That is service error number 6 on the evening for Stanford. Pepperdine has 7 of them.
I like the way the Waves are battling here. Look,
Yeah.
you're down 2 sets against a great team. You can't be thinking getting all 3 sets back at once. As there's another great block. You just take it one point at a time. Your goal is to just go out there, take this set, keep the match going, keep your season going. And we're seeing that. They're playing with a lot of confidence and poise in this third set.
How about the mean mug stare there too from Vanessa Polk after the block? I like that.
About. Got to have that.
Polk again.
Not arrogance, but just confidence. And all of a sudden, Pepperdine on a little bit of a run here. 3 in a row.
Pepperdine up 10-8. And now they're going to have a chance to get a good offensive set go here. There's Polk again. That goes over. Almost a perfect spot. Nice dig from Stanger. And another point for Pepperdine.
What an effort. Stanger leaving it all on the floor. The sophomore getting down, and that's 4 in a row for the Waves.
And again, take a look at just that great dive right here in front of us. Stanford's had a little bit of problems. So the last couple of serves really getting into their offensive system.
I think you might see a timeout here.
Absolutely.
Stanford needs to regroup a little bit, and you see Pepperdine now with some energy as they go to their bench.
5-0 run right now for Pepperdine. Calls for a timeout from Kevin Hambley. We'll take a break with them. Stanford up 2-0, but Pepperdine right now is ahead in set number 3, 12-8. Well, you look up at the scoreboard and set number 3, and it's Pepperdine that has Stanford on their heels right now. 5 straight points for the Waves. That called for the Kevin Hambley timeout. They continue their serve. Kip sends that over. Now they go wide, and there's that defense again from Stanford to stop the run.
Well, it's the first adversity we've seen the Cardinals face at all tonight, and so far a good response out of the timeout. Again, if you're Stanford rolling to the first 2 sets, good chance for them to see how they respond. Again, throughout the NCAA tournament, you go through these stretches where the other team goes on a run. That was a great serve.
Polk at the net was there with Minor. Stanford has it, and there goes Katie Baird. I would say it was a good timeout.
So far, so good for Kevin Hambley and his staff. And now let's see if Pepperdine can find an answer. You don't want to let Stanford get going too much.
It can happen in a heartbeat. Good dig by Rubin. Sets up the Kendall Kip swing and went off the net and out of bounds. Point for Pepperdine.
That was a big point for the Waves, I think.
Yep.
You could feel Stanford starting to get their momentum again. We saw the onslaught in the first set and how, like you said, how quickly it can happen. If you're Pepperdine right now, the longer you maintain the lead, the better. Playing from ahead is a lot more fun against this Cardinal team.
Good scramble and dig, but to no avail. Elia Rubin was the one in the back, but after that, the Stanford attack falls, and Pepperdine back to a 4-point lead.
Good response from the Waves. This is their leader, Isabel Zelaya. Honorable mention, all West Coast Conference, 5th in school history and assists.
Nice by Katie Baird, finding room in the middle of the Waves defense. Now back to serve, Kelly Bellardi. You just have that feeling that somewhere along in this third set, that big Stanford run, which we know they're capable of, just might happen. And Pepperdine right now doing everything they can to take care of this set before Stanford can get that momentum going.
Yeah, Emma Emmerman says not yet. As the Waves continue to have this lead, and again, if you're Pepperdine, the longer you're ahead, the longer you start to believe, get a set, you never know.
Big swing by Baird. Yeah, that one so hard. Riley Patterson on her dig almost sent that back over, but I think it hit the net so hard that Polk for Pepperdine, she really didn't have a chance to react to it coming off the net.
I'll tell you what, I would not like to play defense against this Stanford team. I mean, just the velocity these balls come over with. You'll be on the floor a lot. It can't be fun. But you know what? Pepperdine can play some offense too.
Emma Ammerman, she's really come alive as of late. Another kill for her, her 5th on the match. And a pretty high set there. I don't think that Kendall Kip can get on top of it. Try to get on top of that, and the block, it goes out of bounds.
All of a sudden, this set is within reach for the Waves, up by 5. And their hitting percentage has gone up quite a bit too, up to 151. It was barely above 0 for a lot of the first 2 sets. So now at 163.
Yeah, they're hitting 333 this match. This set. And it's
going
to go up again.
That point. What a dig. And all of a sudden, Pepperdine is looking like the team that's red hot.
And that's going to call for another timeout from Kevin Hambley. Pepperdine starting to build another big run once again here in set number 3. They have the 18-12 lead here on ESPN+. If I told you in set number 3, one team's hitting 360, the other team's hitting 250. Now, of course, you could be cheating right now because I know we're showing the center hung scoreboard on the stream here, but I'm sure you'd think probably Stanford's the one hitting 360, but no, it's Pepperdine. They have come out and looked very sharp offensively in set number 3. Katie Baird, once again, Stanford out of the timeout, coming up with a big point.
Well, look, we talked about it. Pepperdine has faced some of the best teams in the nation, and they've held their own. Wins against Baylor, Washington, Minnesota. Took a set from San Diego just recently, November 19th, when the Toreros were ranked number 2 in the nation. So there's some power from Pepperdine. Wow. Nice ground. Look out below.
I mean, that was put in a perfect spot, too. That was one of those sets where you can just tell her eyes got wide open. Yeah. She was ready for that. I know it's December. It's not Christmas yet, but what a present for her.
An early present.
And then there's another big swing, once again from Kendall Kipp for her 13th kill.
Yeah, Kendall Kipp, ho-hum, just 13 kills, 5 digs, 4 blocks.
Now Elena Oglivie. That's one thing we haven't seen much in this third set. Stanford in that front wall able to send some of those shots back from Pepperdine as that one goes off a defender for the Waves. Another point for Stanford.
Well, I think that's a credit to Pepperdine and Scott Wong and his coaching staff. Clearly they've made some adjustments because you're right. It felt like in the first set, every ball into the net was being blocked right back. The Waves have done a much better job avoiding that.
That's off the antenna. I think it was blocked into the antenna. Couldn't tell at first. Again, especially when you have players that close to each other, you're not really sure who hit what and when, but the block went off the antenna. So a point for Pepperdine.
I'm telling you, volleyball officials have the best eyes of any humans out there.
Yeah, they have to do it. Big swing, Rubin.
Great dig.
Oh, yeah. Pepperdine keeps it alive. Now Stanford back on the attack. Kendall Kipp. Point for the Cardinal.
Well, you can just feel it. I mean, the points are even more competitive here as we move on. In that first set, Stanford is winning quick points in overwhelming fashion. And they're still winning their share, as there's a service error. But even the points Stanford wins now, they're really having to earn them. They're working a lot harder.
We talked about in the first couple sets, too. For Stanford, it was defensively, they were getting their hands on almost everything up front. Now Pepperdine's been able to do that a good bit, to your point. There's the dump for Cammie Minor going over the second hit. Good hustle for Pepperdine to keep it alive. Good hustle by Chillingworth. Now Rubin tried to go soft, and on the return hit, it goes out of bounds. Point for Stanford.
I can't wait to see these final few points of the set if Pepperdine can close it out. You know the Cardinal are going to put their best effort here, and Waves are going to have to be at their best if they want to get this set.
Good hustle. Kipp keeps it alive. Polk beats the block up front and gets the point. She beat Annabelle Smith.
I like Vanessa Polk's game.
Yeah.
She doesn't play like a freshman. I mean, you talked about the stare down earlier. She's confident. She has great poise, solid execution. She's having a good match.
I was just about to say that swag that she plays with is one thing I really appreciate.
Absolutely.
22-17 in favor of the Waves. Baird on the big swing. Guess who was there once again for Pepperdine?
So it is like a reversal of this first set as we're seeing the Waves blockers causing some havoc for Stanford. And all of a sudden, within 2 points, they're forcing a fourth set.
23-17. Isabel Zelaya. Try Baird again. Polk got her hands on it once again. Nice dig out the back. That was Rubin. Baird big swing, and now we're going back and forth.
What a rally.
Miscommunication, though, after Oblivion got the dig, and it falls down for another point. And now Pepperdine with their first set point of the match.
This has been a heck of a response from the Waves here in this third set. A lot of people saw those first two sets, probably figured it would be a quick sweep. Not so fast, say the Waves.
And now the Waves faithful on their feet. Kip trying to find that room in the middle, and she will do just that. Well, Stanford, if they're going to do something, it's going to have to take a miraculous run here to even things up. They're down 18-24. What a dig. No, it hit the ground, and that'll do it. Big time set win for Pepperdine. They are now on the board, taking set number 3. And Ben, I mean, like you said, I think when we look at the first two sets, a phenomenal response by the Waves.
That was impressive. You're on the road against the number 1 seed in Stanford. The Cardinal looked invincible, really, in the first set, much of the second as well. And how about Pepperdine coming in and taking, not just taking the set, but in pretty commanding fashion, 25-18. And now you got to have some belief if you're the Waves. This becomes an interesting fourth set we're about to see.
And we'll have some of the numbers from that third set with you when we come back. We'll take a break. Set number 4 on its way when we come back. Got a good look there at some of the big-time points that Pepperdine earned in set number 3 to come right back into this one. Now they're trailing 2-1. And Ben, I know we talked a lot about what was going on that you really liked and what impressed you in set number 3. What really stood out for you?
I mean, if you look at Pepperdine, they've just gotten better every set. You know, they were sort of overwhelmed in that first set. Stanford just an onslaught. And Pepperdine hit 028. They hit 192 in the second set. How about a 424 hitting percentage in the third? I think I was just most impressed by the Waves boys. On the road, down 2 sets, facing elimination against one of the top teams in the country, the number 1 seed here. and they said, we're not ready to go yet. For me, it was less about the tactical things and the execution and more just about the mindset. It was that swag that Vanessa Polk had. I think the entire team showed it, and the belief, the confidence is there.
And Stanford will start off with the point. But to your point that you just made as well, Ben, I think Vanessa Polk, she's kind of like a lightning rod, if you will, for this team. It felt like, you saw some of the emotion, you saw that passion that she brought, and it seemed like everyone else fed off of it.
Absolutely. And when you can get that from a freshman,
that's
impressive.
Absolutely.
I think part of it, too, is you've seen, obviously, some more errors from Stanford, but I think a lot of that just goes to the way that Pepperdine has upped their game, and it puts more pressure on the opponent to be perfect. I think Stanford, as we said, was winning points early, or easy early on.
There's Polk now. Polk again in the middle, to your point about making it tougher for Stanford to score. Here's Kipp, winds up, and that time she beats the block for the kill.
And that's where, if you're Pepperdine, you just tip your hat. Kendall Kipp is going to get some of those types of kills. You move on to the next point, but boy, you can't say enough about Kendall Kipp. She is just phenomenal. And you can see why she was the Pac-12 Player of the Year, almost unstoppable.
Kill number 16 for Kendall Kipp at a 4:48 clip. And there's going to be a service ace for Stanford. Second one for them of the match. One thing, too, I wanted to note, and again, we talked about the SIDs and the athletic comms directors in the first match.
Nice placement.
Perfect placement. A point for Pepperdine. One thing I really got a kick out of, and we talked to Scott Wong about it, too. If you look in their release, the way that their positions are broke down, and releases. This is credit to Sarah Otterman, SID, for Pepperdine women's volleyball. It's one of the more fun position breakdowns I've seen as Elia Rubin puts that one over and down. So, obviously, usually, like if you're in a huddle, Scott Wong said, no, we're not using these names in the huddle. But they have the Cannons. There's the Malibu Roofing Company. You have your playmakers.
They should call it that in the huddle.
That's what I'm saying. And then last but not least, I thought it was a great one too. Can you dig it? Now, obviously, I think you can take a good guess as to what means what for the positions, but that was a fun little note there.
Oh, I love it. Creative.
That's very creative, and I mean you have to find ways. And Scott Wall talked about this too at practice. You find ways to make things fun,
keep it loose.
Yeah, these young ladies, they work so hard. And you just wonder if maybe that, after the first two sets, maybe that's one of the things that going into set number 3 was a big point of emphasis. Again, have fun. This is a big moment. You've earned it. Go out there, have a good time.
It's easy to forget, and it's easy to get caught up in the moment, and there's a lot of pressure, and your season might end, but you're right. It should be fun. You're on the national stage, and you've earned it.
And we had a chance to joke with them, too. They said one of the things that they like to do before a match, they'll play volleyball without jumping.
Yeah. That's how I play volleyball, but just all the time.
And that's
because I can't
do
anything otherwise.
That's what I told him, too. I said, that sounds like me on vacation at the beach. Block attempt goes out of bounds. Another point for Pepperdine. We're tied at 5. Yeah, I mean, he said they'll do that. They like to play music a lot during practice. I mean, whatever it takes to keep everyone loose. Great reflexes from Oglivie. Big swing, big kill, points. Again for Meg Brown, as she gets her team leading now 9th kill on the evening.
I think we're starting to see some of the weapons Pepperdine has, and as we said, they come from a tough conference, the WCC. They're used to playing good teams. But then, of course, there's Kendall Kipp.
Tied again at 6 after the kill from Kendall Kipp. That's her 17th. She leads both teams in tonight's match. Strong serve from Rubin. Good dig. Oglivie kept it alive. Minor setting up Baird.
Well executed. And Katie Baird did a nice job with her angle there because Stanger was ready, or Patterson rather, was ready if it came a little farther.
That goes off the tape. Once again, we're tied at 7. Oh, again for Stanford, that's service error number 9 now on the match for them. Overall, Stanford as a whole had 303 service errors coming into tonight's action. Again, that's over 102 sets played.
That was a really nice dump to Tammy Minor. Disguised it well. It's nice when you can have a setter who's 6 feet, too. A lot of outside hitters aren't even 6 feet around the country, and he's got that capability.
Well, remember, that's what we talked about a good bit in the last match, right? If you're Hawaii coming out of the Big West, you don't see a lot of players who are, even for the outside hitters, to your point, that are 6'3" and 6'4". But
right.
Now here you are at Stanford, where you have a setter that can be a lot of other teams on any other day. Maybe one of their outsides or opposites.
Exactly right.
And just misses that far line. Point for Pepperdine as they now trail 8-9. Service error number 10 for Stanford. Again, just under 3 service errors per set coming into tonight. Katie Baird times it up. Good job backing that up by Helmuth. Baird again. Can't keep her down for long.
And a nice feed from Bikini. I think the passing has been crisp here in this 4th set for Stanford. That's such a big part of attack percentage and getting those kills is having those feeds, those passes right in your wheelhouse.
Nice dig by Rubin. Kipp. Polk got a piece of that. Now here comes Stanford. Out of the back line, Rubin. Nice dig for Pepperdine out the back. That was Zelaya, and Stanford's going to get the point. Another good rally.
In perfect spot at the net, forcing the timeout from Pepperdine. Katie Baird doing a little bit of everything this set.
A good timeout here by Scott Wong. Down 3 now to Stanford. Don't want to get this out of reach. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Stanford will look to add on and improve on this 11-8 lead they have in set number 4 on ESPN+. Coming out of the Pepperdine timeouts. Stanford with the 11-8 lead. It took sets 1 and 2, 25-11 and 25-18. And then Pepperdine bounced back the 25-18 win in set 3 over Pac-12 champion Stanford Cardinal. Or speaking of Pac-12 champion, how about that big win for the Utah Utes tonight over USC in Las Vegas? So they get their second Pac-12 championship in a row.
Impressive. And down 17-3 in that game. They end up winning 47-24. What is that, 44-7 from that point on? Dominance from the Utes.
And, of course, once again, looking like this conference will be on the outside looking in terms of the playoff. What a great reaction by Oglivia to keep it alive. But, again, on a ladder dig that hit the antenna. Point for Pepperdine.
Well, this is a big point in this set, I think. And as you said, it was a good timeout from Scott Wong. Down 3 through the waves. You have to stay in contact right now.
Big swing from Vicini, but she caught the tape on it. What a dig by Rubin. And Kendall Kipp. Good things usually happen when you get over to number 10.
When in doubt, get it to Kendall. I think you could probably say the same thing tonight about Katie Baird, who's about to serve. 2 of them have combined for 35 kills.
Yeah, Kipp leading the way with 18. Baird has 17. We're going to have a challenge from Scott Wong. Stanford right now with 3 players in double figures in kills. Elliot Rubin has a double-double, 12 kills, 13 digs. Meanwhile, for Pepperdine, they still are looking for that first player to reach the double-digit kill mark.
Challenging a touch at the net. So as we've talked about, if you've got the challenge, might as well use it. I don't see much there.
Yeah, Kipp looked like she was fairly far away from the net, at least from that angle. I thought, and that was right in front of us, I thought it was the case too. Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty quick challenge.
Yeah, unless there was something earlier that we didn't see.
But how about that catch over there by one of the official assistants?
Athletes.
You just never know sometimes when you're at a big-time volleyball match where the athletes are going to be sitting or lined up somewhere.
Well, you're holding that down for this side of the table because I know you played football, and for me, there's not much left. There never was much, and there's definitely not much athleticism left.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, at 28, never did I think I would have to foam roll and massage gun and stretch as much as I have to do now for a flag football game or pick up basketball, but I'm here now. Tell you what, there's a group of former volleyball players. Again, you saw Catherine Plummer at the end of it. Kind of starting a little wave action now going on around the rest of the crowd. Again, that's one thing I think that's really cool around the Stanford community. More times than not, for all the different programs that former athletes are still around in the area, they always come back and support, show love to the current athletes going and competing.
Yeah, great family atmosphere here. There's no question about it. Everybody's so supportive, and the different teams support one another.
And as we expected, challenge was unsuccessful. Point for Stanford, now 13-9. As Katie Baird's back to serve. There was Polk. She had to go a long way to get over there and really couldn't get as much on the attack as she wanted to, but a perfect shot from Chillingworth. And that's her 9th kill. Perfectly placed right over the top of the block.
Yeah, Grace Chillingworth leading the team in kills this year. Had 309 coming in. Also 40 aces this year. Tied for 6th most in a single season in Pepperdine history.
Rubin tried to go right back at Pepperdine with the same move Chillingworth just made. Now Chillingworth will load up. Didn't have it. Kipp sends it over, and Pepperdine will have a chance to set things up. And a miss hit And misjudged by Meg Brown. Ended up a little behind her. And Stanford will take the point. Attendance of just under 3,000 officially for this match in Maples. We had about 1,500 for Hawaii and LSU, and it seemed like for a while a lot of the LSU faithful were still stuck around. I think now the team is gone and maybe back to the hotel wherever they're staying nearby, and it seems like some of the supporters are gone with them as well.
Get ready for tomorrow.
So it's going to be a long day tomorrow for LSU supporters. Again, at least locally here, SEC Championship kicks off, I believe, at noon. LSU Tigers going up against the Georgia Bulldogs, #1 team in the country. Then, of course, after that, you come over to Maples, see if the women's volleyball team can continue on their NCAA tournament hopes. Big swing from Baird, but the defense for the Waves was up for the challenge. Grace Chillingworth was there alongside Meg Brown for the Waves.
Yeah, not an easy hit to block when you're talking about Katie Baird and how she's played tonight. Pepperdine's defense has stepped things up these last couple sets.
Minor sets up Rubin. Phenomenal dig in the back by Riley Patterson. And now Stanford had a block party, and that's going to go. No, it's going to be a point for Pepperdine. They called the touch, I believe.
Yeah.
The PA just called a point for Stanford, but no, it's a point for Pepperdine. I thought I might have heard a little bit of a sound on that back line. So 15-13 now the score. Another big swing from Kip, but again, Patterson, a phenomenal dig in the back line. Minor, Pepperdine was ready for a phenomenal read by Meg Brown.
They were prepared. And again, here come the Waves. Stanford has to call for time. Pepperdine not going to go down easily.
It looked like for a second maybe Stanford was going to take one of those big commanding leads. But all of a sudden, just like we saw in set 3, it's happened again in set 4. Pepperdine coming in waves. Seen all the dance moves out in effect tonight. Getting ready for some more set 4 action. And Ben, I want you to be honest with me. So I made the pun, obviously, going into that timeout. Pepperdine coming in waves. If you had to give me a rating on that 1 to 10, where would you put it?
That was pretty good. I'll give you a 9.
Okay, I'll take that.
I don't know. I should have seen it coming. I don't know why it didn't pop into my head, to be honest. But so simple, but so elegant.
And, of course, I got to get my one dig in there. One of us went to Stanford, one went to Cal. If you can guess who went where. Here comes Pepperdine on the attack. Here's the Stanford defense. I think up front, Stanford's really come back alive a little more defensively in this 4th set. And they'll answer the timeout with a point of their own. So now 16-14.
Now we'll see if the Cardinal can put this one away now. Pepperdine has really fought hard. They played great in that 3rd set to get the win. And it felt like a couple times here in the 4th, Stanford was on the verge of going on one of those big runs. And Again, the Waves back within a point.
And of course, before anyone has anything to say about it, yes, I know Cal is a phenomenal school, but you know what? It's almost been 2 whole matches where Ben and I have not had any Bay Area rivalry jabs towards each other. I had to get one in.
That's fair.
And that's a Polk finds room.
Tell you what, Pepperdine's not ready to let Stanford start preparing for tomorrow just yet.
Not at all.
This is getting interesting.
And there's only one thing that Pepperdine wants Stanford to prepare for, and that's a set number 5.
And as you know, a set 5, it's anybody's game. It's up for grabs at that point.
You know, all the errors, everything is heightened with the shortened set. Baird, big swing, cross court, gets the winner.
It really is stark, though, isn't it, from this set and last set to the first, how difficult it is for Stanford. They're winning points, but they're winning them multiple times.
Yep.
The defense from Pepperdine has been great. We've seen a lot of blocks. We've seen some great digs. They are playing at a high level right now, and the scoreboard is reflecting it.
Service over. Nice dig. And it results in a kill. Good dig out of the back by Taylor Bevan, and it results in a Katie Baird kill.
Couple of big kills there for Katie Baird. As Stanford, we'll see if they got that killer instinct now. Try and put this one away. You know they don't want to go to a 5th set.
And a service ace.
And there's 3 in a row.
That ball just floated and then died over the nets. And Stanford now back up to a 3-point lead. We'll keep it here. This is what you talk about. You talk about the killer instinct. Well, part of that killer instinct is no matter what's going on, you don't flinch, you don't get rattled. And right now with the response that we saw from the Pepperdine run, we've seen that so far with Stanford in this run.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you're Stanford, obviously you'd probably prefer a quick, easy sweep. But this is all good preparation. If they are able to hang on and win this one, obviously we've talked about they've got bigger aspirations than just round 1 or even round 2, if we're being honest. This is a team that believes they have what it takes to get to the Final Four and maybe win another national championship. And so if they want to do that, they're going to go through lots of challenges throughout. And it's good to see them respond and get a little bit of a test here in these last 2 sets.
That's a good point, because I think when you look at just some of the numbers, you would wonder, how is this not over? And I say that in terms of, even in the set that Stanford lost in set 3, they still hit 312.
Yeah.
And you lose that set 25-18. And even in this set, they're up 3 points right now, but they're hitting 310, and Pepperdine's hitting 125. So you're going to look at some of these numbers and just kind of scratch your head a bit at what's going on. Now, of course, you look at some of the service errors. Stanford now with 11 of them. They have 4 more than what Pepperdine has.
Right.
But just overall, I mean, I think that even kind of goes to more of a testament to how hard and impressive the fight for Pepperdine has been these last couple of sets.
No question. They're just finding ways to win points. It's not always pretty, but they've been effective.
Katie Baird kept alive by Patterson. Now the big swing. Bevan there again. Now Baird, that was really close up to the net. It's going to count 4th hit on Stanford. Again, that set for Katie Baird looks like it went a little too close to the net, and waiting for none other than Vanessa Polk once again.
And Pepperdine starting to feel a little energized as well. Every time Stanford opens up the lead, I think credit to Scott Wong, the way that he used his timeouts this set. He's kept his team right in it, and obviously credit to the players too. But Stanford hasn't been able to really open up a huge lead. We'll see if they've got one last push in them, as the Cardinal now just 5 points away from winning the match.
Potentially a huge service error there by Pepperdine. Cami Minor on the serve. What a shot.
Perfect.
To the back corner. Another kill, that one from Emma Ammerman. That's going to be kill number 7 for her in 18 attacks. I mean, she put that in an absolute perfect spot. Nothing that Oglivie could do on the back line.
Perfect placement, great execution.
Defense was ready for Kendall Kipp. Now Stanford, Kipp again. You might get her once, but you might not get her twice.
Well, you talk about perfect placement. Kendall Kipp saw a little bit of a spot, back right corner, and she hit it right where she wanted.
Stanford now 4 points away.
That's 20 kills and 7 digs for Kendall Kipp. 4 blocks, too.
Now remember, we talked about how in the season high for anybody is 26 kills, which was done by Katie Baird against Oregon State here in Maples. And that also was in 4 sets as well. Now, it doesn't look like, at least for now, we'll see Pepperdine can make a big comeback, that Kendall Kipp will challenge that.
Yeah, I think Kendall Kipp would rather not challenge.
Right,
that.
exactly.
It would mean we're playing a lot longer.
Got to go to set number 5, potentially. And there's another one for Kendall Kipp. She'll get as close as she can, though.
There's 21.
(23-18) for Stanford. 2 points away from moving on to the second round. Pepperdine not done yet. Ammerman again.
I said earlier it can't be fun playing defense against Stanford. It can't be fun playing against any of these teams.
No.
As a defensive specialist or a libero, you just got volleyballs flying right at you, and you're supposed to do something with it.
Minor, perfect setup. Vicini coming from the back line. We saw earlier, Minor went over, tried to go over on a second and was stuffed. And this time puts a perfect set in place for Vicini. And now Stanford serving for set point with Elena Oglivie.
Crowd on its feet, making some noise. And the Cardinal ended right here.
Oglivie, phenomenal effort coming from the back line, but slid underneath the net. And that'll be another point for Pepperdine. So here comes match point number 2. The serve will be coming in from Emma Ammerman, to the chagrin of the Stanford Dollies in the back. See, they have fun seeing themselves on the big
Getting some
screen.
good screen time.
And there's going to do it. The final serve goes into the nets. And Stanford, with point number 25 of set number 4, will end this one 3-1.
Heck of an effort by Pepperdine. They could have easily just folded when they went down 2-0. They didn't. They came back, won the third set in impressive fashion, and they pushed Stanford. They definitely pushed them in the fourth. Made the Cardinal use one of their timeouts, sort of reset, but credit to the Cardinal, they were up to the challenge, and as I said, I think this type of a challenge for them might help moving forward, because it's certainly not going to get any easier.
And nothing wrong with a little bit of adversity, and again, it wasn't an ugly win by any means for Stanford, but even if it was, as they always say, you'd rather take an ugly win than an ugly loss.
No question, and you're right, definitely not an ugly win. You look at the numbers, hitting 377, very impressive, and this Cardinal team, they're going to be a tough out. That's 19 straight wins. You see their head coach, Kevin Hambley, discussing things with the team right now. We know what their goals are, and it's to win a national championship. They've got the talent to do it. Now it's just a matter of, can they keep this roll going?
And to your point, Ben, I mean, we're looking at it on screen right now. Kevin Hambley, that's not a celebration huddle going on right now.
Not at all.
That's here's what we need to work on and improve to get ready for a very good LSU team who we had the chance to see play earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm excited for the matchup. It's an athletic LSU team. It's a big LSU team, and It's another squad that won't be intimidated coming in here. It's an SEC team that's faced some tough environments and some really good teams. Should be a great match tomorrow night.
Some final numbers for you tonight. Kendall Kipp led the way offensively for both teams. 21 kills on 39 attacks. Good for 410 hit percentage along with 7 digs and 4 blocks. Katie Baird, 19 kills on 34 attacks at a 412 clip. 7 digs for her as well. Double-double for Elia Rubin. Had some phenomenal digs. 15 of them in total. 12 kills for her as well. Cammie Minor, 50 assists for her tonight, 5 digs and also 3 blocks. And on the other side, the lone Pepperdine Wave in double figures for kills was Meg Brown, hit 320. 10 kills, 25 attacks. Also had 5 blocks as well. Pretty good match for her. Grace Chillingworth and Emma Ammerman were right behind her with 9 kills apiece. Overall, Stanford hit 377 and held Pepperdine to 200. Overall, Stanford 62 kills in all, 45 for Pepperdine. And that's going to bring an end to what has been an absolute fun day of women's volleyball here in Maples. And as Ben mentioned, tomorrow you get to do it again as Stanford, that same Stanford team, going to go up against the LSU Tigers, who also won in round number 1 3-1. Well, thanks again for tuning in and for our phenomenal crew here at Stanford. The great Ben Ross, I'm Jordan Watkins. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that you have a great rest of your night, a wonderful weekend. Again, thanks for tuning in here to the NCAA Women's Volleyball Tournament on ESPN+.